make the weaving. So I started to teach all the techniques to my students, even my own techniques that I use in my exhibitions, because I think everything is a free information to everybody. So whatever you can do, you just teach it, and you will be inspired by other techniques and other things to do further, and you will be more experienced and more professional in doing this. In this exhibition, I try to express what is the famous artists through the history express their own ideas about women. So I took many famous portraits and I turned the painting into stripes after I printed on canvas, and then I wove my loom in the same direction of the painting. So I get this painting again in a different look, in a new expression, using different color of yarns for the warp and the wefts, and this is give the painting different emotion. It gives different reflection of colors, and I think this is it comes from my inner emotion too. What I'm thinking about the portrait, what do I see in this portrait? So I made this around 20 portraits of different artists about woman portrait, and in the same techniques. This piece on the screen, it was made for the first time in the House Diaconist in München, in Munich, in Germany. It was a project made for a special event, so I thought, because it wasn't shown in Egypt ever since then, so I tried to make it this time for my exhibition using the same portrait, and I like pulled out all the strings from this canvas, black canvas, to show a semi-transparent portrait of the same portrait I used in my exhibition. I hope this really you like my art, and if you have any question or have any comment about it, I will be glad to talk to you.
Okay. Thank you so much. We are still going to have more of that your artwork, and I want us to take the questions together. So right now we take the second presentation, then there will be time for questions. So we take the questions together now. So Dr. Samia, can you just hold on? Then after the next presentation, then we can take questions. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
sure.
Right
sure.
now,
Thank
we are
you.
going to take presentation from Mr. Segun Olude, all the way from Canada, about the topic we'll be looking at is 21st century art teachers' character and the capacity building in art education. So, Mr. Segun Olude, I should stop sharing my screen right now,
I'll
right?
share my screen.
Oh,
I can share my screen.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Let me just do that so that you can take over. Okay, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay.
You can share your screen now, sir.
I think you can probably see my screen now.
Yes, you can see your screen now, sir.
Okay,
yes,
so I'll go back one. 21st century art teachers, character and capacity building in art education. That's the topic I was given. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yeah.
So I didn't put any introduction slide because of time. So I'm going to go very quickly and just try and cover as much as I can and leave room for questions. So I believe that when we're talking about the 21st century art teacher's character and building capacity in education, we have to not take one approach, but look at what the best practices are in different fields and use observation and research to come to that conclusion and say, okay, this is what's going to work. And also be very willing to change very quickly. So I'm going to go through these topics very quickly and, sort of help me explain myself. We go from progression of from stone to paper to tablets. And we're in a situation now, in an age where we learn and we make and we unlearn and remake. And it becomes necessary for us to collaborate in learning and education and also build on a foundation of storytelling. So the previous presentation by Dr. Samia before me is actually building on storytelling in the tapestries and the weaves that she does. So what does it mean to learn and make and unlearn? Well, in the software industry, we find something called a beta, which is the first effort, the first version of a product. They're still testing it and they release it and they want people to try it out. Why? Because it will give them the opportunity to work out what the problems could be. I believe this might be the attitude that we will take in moving forward, that we would have to release the uh, method and methodology first, see how it works, and quickly change. If we learned anything from COVID, being sequestered at home, immediately we all changed attitude. So that could be a version 1. And then the upgrades will come and there will be updates. So we'll keep refining these methods as we go on. As tools, thinking and technology changes, it affects both the input and the output. So the learning and the output become affected. So I'm just going to see how that has happened over time. Initially, you have to go to Lascaux, France to see this cave painting on the wall because there were no photographs to bring it to us. Eventually, there was, of course. Down the line, the Sumerians would make clay tablets. They'll put their records on it, and then you could carry those reasonably from place to place. And then with the Egyptians, we find the development of the papyrus and hieroglyphic writings, and the glyph method of representing information was another change, and it became more portable because the papyrus, of course, in its nature is very portable. And then somewhere in the timeline of design and communication and art, we see this example that I'm showing here represents a brush stroke taken from a Chinese painting. And we would look at that black brushstroke that defines this leaf, and we see how it describes this new modern poster that was done in Nagoya, Japan. This is from 2003 visit. And that same brushstroke, when we go to the next screen, we see how it transformed into this moving image. It's animated, just using those same kinds of characteristics. We move into a new methodology of showing just visuals and sounds. So this is how in very short history of humanity, we've transformed from carrying a painting on caves in immobile places to carrying stone tablets to writing on papyrus, and now we have moving images. All sorts of media are around us. So the transition has been very quick. In my own time, We've gone from writing on paper to where we saw the first handheld devices, where you could read books relatively easy. You could carry so many books in one device. That development kept transforming society because we became more dependent on digital methods of transmitting information. And as the devices became smarter, we could pack more into those devices. There's a saying that we build our tools and our tools then build us. We shape our tools and the tools shape us. As we have these devices in society and we use them more and more, society itself has become changed. Without this device that you see on the screen right now, most of us would have been unable to do any work during the time that we were sequestered for COVID. So today's artists then, in some of my classrooms, you would see students bring their digital devices and they're doing paintings. So now we have a lot of artists on this forum right now. We mostly work in traditional media. We use paint, we use acrylic, oils, brushes, and so on. But the new student is so accustomed to doing their paintings digitally that we start to question, okay, for a painting on a canvas, you have one original. For a digital painting, we still call it a painting or artwork. How many originals do you have? Of course, you have one original, but now you have the opportunity to post it on Instagram, to print it on a canvas, to do all sorts of things with it. You see how these devices have changed us, changed our craft, changed our society, to the point where when you look at something like this, and I'm showing you this as an example, this was all built using a digital device in Procreate. No brush was touched. Every brush is virtual. Every stroke is virtual. Is it a pleasing composition? Is it pleasing to look at? Does it observe all the principles of design and art? Does it look at composition? Does it play with light and shadow? Of course, yes. So this is a valid painting, but it is not tangible. So our shift then has to go from tangible to intangible, even though the tangible still plays a part in what we do. Now we're going to be looking for ways to synthesize the old and the new, the tangible and the intangible, and merging media. So you look at this model, this figurine in a spacesuit. Basically, he comes from a computer-generated art that was now printed in 3D. So if I was talking about painting before, now we're looking at sculpture. Sculpture is being affected by technology. And these changes are happening so fast that now to be able to teach sculpture, I have to now go and learn how to use 3D design methods on the computer. And here we see a 3D printer printing this shape from something generated on screen. So it's affected us to the point where now in 24 hours, you can have a new house built for you. And this is what we're looking at. 3D printers are now big enough that they can build homes. So how do we get where we're going? It's going to take collaboration, collaborative learning, and collaborative education, where we are not acting in silos anymore, where the person working with tapestries is working with the person who does 3D rendering, who work with science and technology people who create the machines that will bring these creations to life. I'll end with this example from my own work. When I did this Play logo for TEDx in Winnipeg, Manitoba, it was just flat graphics, all individual graphics playing on the idea of play. I brought all these things together. But once I turned it over to the person who knew what they were doing, watch what happened. It's on the floor of the stage. It was animated. The TEDx was built in 3D. It became a platform for speakers to come and stand on. And it became something more than what I could have done by myself, because the screen printer was involved, the model maker was involved, the people hanging the material on the screen were involved, and it became this place where all these people could come together to share ideas. Just from that one single flat logo that I designed, and we see it take on a life of its own. So I'm proposing that we'll be collaborating more and more and more and more as we go on. And that would also reflect on the attitude that we have as educators. Not only change ourselves, but also allow our students to change. We'll continue to learn, unlearn, modify our learning, and include other media in our practice as we go along. And that is where I will end my discussion today. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, sir, for that great presentation.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
but I know the audience tonight, we have a lot of questions for you. But before we ask that question, can you please share? Okay. So before we have that question, I have a video. Okay, I have a video to just show us about the work of from the exhibition of Dr. Samia. Then immediately after this video, we can take our questions.
دكتورة سامية الشيخ، أستاذ في كلية التربية الفنية جامعة حلوان، وبدرس نسيج يدوي، وبدرس تربية فنية. أنا كمان نائب رئيس منظمة الإنسية العالمية للتربية عن طريق الفن. التربية الفنية اهتماماتنا كلنا، وإحنا مؤمنين جدا في الكلية إن إحنا من خلال التربية الفنية نقدر نغير. بعرف أسدي بنول وأسدي أنوال كتير، وأبتدي أعمل التركيب النسجي اللي أنا عايزة يطلع منه التأثيرات اللي أنا عايزاها. حياتي الفنية عموما عملت أكتر من معرض.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, I think we can take our questions now.
I just want
Why?
to add something about my exhibition first. Can I share my screen?
Okay. Okay, I have to stop sharing my screen here.
How do I do that? Let's see. Okay.
Okay, you can share your screen now. You see the arrow at the center. You click on the arrow at the center. You see share.
Yes. Share.
You see that click here. Then you can share your desktop.
Okay.
Okay, where she's doing that, please let's just pen down our questions, then we can take the questions together.
Okay.
So
Do you see my screen now?
No, yes. No? You click on it. Click on the screen. You see when you click on share, then you can see desktop or window or what have you that you want to share.
Oh, okay.
Is it that you still have some other things to share with us concerning the exhibition?
I can't see it.
Okay. Can I just continue with the video while people can ask their questions? I think.
Okay. You can start with the questions now.
Okay. Okay. You can take the question now. If you have any questions to ask, can you please? There is a hand symbol at the center of your screen. Can you just click on that? Then we can take the questions. That's if you have questions for either of our presenters tonight. We still have one from Dr. Meyer immediately after the questions.
Yes, I just want to click on this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for two very, very insightful presentations. The one on tapestry and weaving and so on is very interesting because what I'm sort of what I would like to know on a technical level is it looks like separate portraits that's been weaved together or woven together in the exhibition that you had in Germany. So was that a separate assignment, and what was the sort of brief? How was it exhibited to the public? Was it seen as part of study, or was it seen as a way to teach people to basically get more involved with the weaving process, or what is the sort of like the purpose of putting all the portraits together? That is my first question to Samia. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Samia, you can
our
go ahead.
gentleman in Canada, yeah.
You want me to answer now?
Yes. Go ahead and answer that one, then we take another question.
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. First, I made this project as an art event in the House de Kunst in Munich. It was a personal project, not teaching project, and I made this fabricated piece to divide the exhibition for an international event showing Islamic arts from 100 years ago. So they were showing some pieces from Islamic art, and they wanted to divide the room into a maze. And this maze, they show their artwork. So my fabricated piece, it wasn't for showing an art, but I made it as an art. So it was amazing because they want to make just a division for the room, then it became a piece of art too. This is what happened in Germany. Then it was not a secret, but it was shown in Germany. So I wanted to show my special techniques I used there in Egypt while my exhibition in February 2020.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for
much.
that response. Okay,
You're
thank you. So can we take another question, please, because of our time?
Could I ask just again with the presentation from Canada?
Yes, yes, you can go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. It was also very insightful, starting in the prehistoric times and then ending at the tablet, and how art is basically developed now towards a discipline that needs to collaborate with other disciplines, artistic disciplines, and so on. And we see it more and more. Um, will the products then, as you see it, become stay sort of digital and become 3D, and how, it's almost as if one wants to see more integration between the arts also in our teaching of our students and so on. So the digital is, I'm basically confirming what I've seen. Sort of the newest trends, where will it leave us then in the way that we teach? Does it mean that we have to start accommodating and incorporating lecturers and people from other disciplines as well to teach some parts of it, some sections of it, to make it more holistic, more rounded, give the students the opportunity to engage on many different levels?
I believe so. Bringing other disciplines into the classroom actually helps a lot in, if you want to use the word cross-pollination, where by associating with people of different disciplines, you learn from them, they learn from you, and we all sort of grow together and new discoveries come out of that. So the big corporations have a lot of money to put behind research and development because they're going to come up with a product that they will sell. But in a learning environment, we don't always have a product that we can sell, but we can make the best of that environment for experimentation. So experimentation is a very big thing that we need to now be allowing in our classrooms. Collaboration is something very important, not just between students or among students, but also among faculty. If I go way back to my student days, which is a long time ago, one of my final projects was to move from graphic design and work with interior design students on a project. It was quite a big learning at that time, but today it's even a more integrated world than at that time because digital products are coming at us from every angle. One particular example that's very exciting for me right now is something, I forget the actual name of the product. You put it on your wall, it has a post that holds it to the wall, and whatever drawing or painting you have on your computer can be painted directly on your wall by this printer. And it's just like a desktop printer on your wall. So exciting products are coming out, exciting processes are coming out, and I think we are at the cusp of great discoveries, and we need to take advantage of those in the classroom.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I agree, and it's good to know what is on the forefront of what is happening across the world as well. Um, Prince, I don't know, at some point, just before we leave, I would actually just like to mention the SSASEA conference that's coming up in December, but I will do that after all the questions has been taken.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can just take one or two more questions, then we will have your presentation, Dr. Meyer. Let's just take more questions. Then after that, then we take more questions. I will take your presentation rather. So,
Yeah.
I
who is
have
asking the next question?
a comment, please.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much for my colleague from Canada, and I really liked his presentation very much. It's very organized, and I'm going to read the expressions he said that I really concentrate these days about. He said about collaborative learning, building the experience, and like our friend said, we have an integrated world now, and we need really to concentrate on how technology will help us teach more art in a way, in a different way, that it's really will make differences in our students' life and in their creativity. And I think we have many opportunities to do that through our teaching and our classroom. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did
Please,
you
I have
hear me?
I have a question for two presenters. The first one goes to Dr. Samia. I watched your presentation and I saw some of the work you displayed.
Yeah.
But I want to ask a question about the type of techniques used in producing those works, and how do we classify that technique, if we are to classify it? That is for Dr. Samia. Then to our presenter from Canada, I so much love the presentation tonight, and very, very precise, and then straight to the point. And looking at it, learning by making, and from learning to making, from making to unlearning again, and then you remake. I so much love it, because that is exactly what is happening now in our own time. The time of analog is over, and now we are in jet age, and everything is all about technology now. And if only we can embrace this particular pedagogy of teaching, it will go a long way to, unite even the student, the teacher, and even the society at large. And by so doing, we learn from one another. We learn from our students learn from the teacher, and then teacher equally learn from the town and gown, and which I believe that these things should be encouraged. And likewise, the interdisciplinary education should equally be encouraged in all our schools, because the time of living alone on your own area of specialization has become obsolete now. And it is high time, because I want to believe in so doing, we can equally develop new innovations, ideas from what others are doing. So, but I would like him to equally shed more light, because, you know, we how to package even the past now and transport that past to the present in order to prepare for the future now is the major issue. Right now, we are having problems all over the world. Especially, let me be more specific about Nigeria. It's as if people still don't understand the importance of arts in this country, which I believe that the contributions from people like our presenter Segun Olude from Canada and others from Africa, if only we can come up together as he rightly advocates, it will help us to make art education something that is acceptable to all. I'm not talking of Nigerian alone now, but in the world, because the same way we are struggling with art education in Nigeria, so they are still struggling with it in Britain and even in America. America came up with a program saying that art education for all, but up to date, I'm still not even sure if the entire America have accept art education as something that should be for all. So I would like him to please maybe shed more light on that learning by making, learning, then making, unlearning, and then making. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Samia. No, yes, okay. Dr. Samia, can you please answer that question?
Okay.
Your part. Okay.
About the technique, as Dr. Segun, I hope I said your name right. As he said,
it's okay. I understand.
Yeah. As he said, that usually the art experience is built up, and everything you learn through your teaching years or artistic years, you gain it and you put it deeply inside. So I learned many techniques, and like if you are aware of some weaving, so there is a technique they call inlay. And there is another technique that they call it Mormon technique, and it was related to an artist. His name is Mormon, and he used to cut the fabric and use it as a weft and put it in between his yarns. And then I decided once to use the printed fabric to make like a painting with my fabrics. And then afterwards, I thought, like we were talking about the 21st century and the technology that gave us things that it wasn't there in the 90s. Like printing on canvas. Printing on canvas is something that it's new now, and it's already in the hand of the students and artists and everybody. You can print whatever you want on canvas, and in any space you want. I mean, in any material. You can even now print 3-dimension, like we heard from Dr. So I started to think about printing things that it's really, it's amazing to see. And I even print it in different measurements. So if you look to these paintings, I printed, it's from like a painting is 40 by 60 centimeters, but I printed in a high resolution on a canvas in a measurement of 1 meter by 1.5 meters. And then I cut it into stripes and very easily put it into my weaving through the process itself in the same numbers of stripes to get the picture just the same. And this is give me some effective look, like you can see it like the mosaic. If you look at it, you can find some pieces look like the mosaic if it's ceramic or something, and the other things looks like a piece of fabric or a rug. So it's different look through. It differs through my my weaving techniques, and it comes out from some yarns I dyed myself with some hand dye techniques. So it's a whole of experience I have, but the techniques are in the books and it's no secret. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that response. Let's take the second question. Mr. Segun Olude, please, over to you, sir.
Thank you. I really have to commend the previous speaker, Dr. Samia. I couldn't see your last name again, or Sheikh, to read completely your name. I actually love what I see in front of me, and I'm very excited by the work that you have produced. It's very exciting, and it's also equally exciting to hear about your process because it points to something that has been done before and will continue to do, but will now shift a little bit and add a bit more of the, if we can use one word loosely, digital to it. So to answer Dr. Olademeji's question, I would say that it has to be done with purpose. For an example, in the past, we'll look at someone like Picasso. He knew how to paint. He knew how to paint very well.
Yeah,
he had to evolve his painting, and it's good that I saw a couple of Picassos today. he had to devolve his ability to that of a child and then come up with a new technique. So basically it's he learned, he unlearned, and now it's in the process of making that you actually come up with something new. If we go with Bloom's taxonomy, which I had to learn as a new teacher, you get the information in the first stage, and you process the information, and then you use the information to make something or to create something. So in that process, it cannot be start to finish. As we're exposed through collaboration, meaningful collaboration, intentional collaboration, as we're exposed to new techniques, then we find opportunity to say, oh, I used to do this way. Now I can incorporate that so I can come up with a new technique or a new system or a new methodology. And in the classroom, I actually learned from some of my students who may have worked in one industry or the other before coming to art school. And you see them doing something in the course of interaction, you find that, oh, this could be the beginning of something new. And I've seen a few growths that way. The other thing I want to mention is, thankfully, because for years I was looking for opportunity to, teach students wherever I could get to. Now I'm sitting inside my home office and I'm talking to you in Egypt, talking to you in Nigeria. I don't know where everybody else is, probably Netherlands, South Africa, everywhere. I'm talking to you there. So to be in a position of, to use the word that we understand in education, a visiting lecturer, is no big deal anymore. Where there would have been travel cost, lodging, and all these things involved, a lot of the work can be done through distance, through tele-education, as we're doing right now. We collaborate over distances by planning it and actually bringing people with different expertise around us into the conversation. And I believe these are meaningful, determined ways that we can move this forward. We come out at the other end helping people understand what we're trying to do by holding regular exhibitions, regular symposia, regular seminars, not just within the academic institutions, but by inviting people from the industries that we think can be affected or that we've borrowed from to create things. And I think in time, people would start to put more attention into not just STEM, but adding art education into it, as we now know that to be STEAM, so that we have art embedded in the educational system right from when the learner is still a very young person. So those are some of the ideas that I think I can share with you.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, Mr. Segun Olude. Thank you for that response to that question. I'd love us to take more questions now, but I want, because of our time, I want Dr. Meyer from South Africa to quickly do a presentation. She's going to be talking with us about a conference coming up in December, and I want every one of us to be a part of that too. So, Dr. Meyer, can you please take over now?
Unmute myself. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I haven't got very nice high-tech pictures with me at the moment because I'm on a phone, and most of my conference pictures and so on are on my laptop. And I didn't transfer it in time. But anyway, yes, SSASEA is a movement that was basically started in Namibia under the auspices of InSEA. And we started an organization which basically covers the sub-Sahara part of Africa, and trying to get everybody in Africa together as far as art education is concerned. So SSASEA then stands for Sub-Sahara African Society for Education through the Arts. Now, we've put the S there because we do believe that although we are putting a lot of emphasis on visual art, we do not want to limit ourselves just to art, but also to multimedia. And on our committee, we've got somebody that's in filmmaking and multimedia and so on. But our focus is on visual arts, but we also accommodate the other arts and the other disciplines. So our theme that the committee has decided on is embracing Indigenous knowledge through the arts for sustainable development in general and in times of pandemic disruption and uncertainty. So our focus then is to acknowledge our own unique identities, to revisit Indigenous knowledge systems and its relevance to sustainable development in general and in terms of disruptive pandemic tipping points in our regions. Moving forward, how do we mobilize different kinds of knowledge and learn new ways of living, working, and organizing our lives and our institutions? So we invite educators, students, researchers, policymakers, and so on to this conference that we intend to have from the 1st until the 4th of December. We've also decided on about 4 themes, and those themes include leadership development and employability of youth and making use of the experience of the elderly, innovative and entrepreneurial skills development, inclusivity, equity, well-being, and community, and then, of course, also environmental awareness and heritage preservation. So around those themes, we actually want to re-establish, we talk about remaking, but also re-establish our local identities, what is valuable, and how can we actually utilize that and bring it through in our lives and in art education. So I fully agree that the art should be part of technology, STEAM, and so on. But how can we actually use art to link all of these things in a sustainable way? Um, yeah. So we're planning to have both in-person and virtual sessions, so people can then send their abstracts through, and we are still in the process of approaching people for key speakers, which we can do virtually, but it will be a conference, where we want to have proceedings, or maybe also approach a journal to have a special edition with articles and presentations that we can actually have published in the books. So in a book or in an article in a journal. So I will put or send through this email or this website address to Prince, and he can just also distribute it so that people can have a look at that. But I do invite you, because we are really, I mean, everybody's been cancelling conferences and so on. We really want to go ahead and start to rethink again about what is local, what is precious, what do we need to capture in our regions, and how do we move forward through art education. So if you've got any questions, I'll also leave my email address, and our chairperson, Dr. Christiana Afrikaner, is also quite involved in organizing this. So we hope to have something more tangible on the table by the end of June, July.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Meyer. I want to say that by the grace of God, you will have the presence of Nigeria in at that event in December. Excuse me. So we have a lot of people in Nigeria, art educators, that are interested in that conference already, and they would love to come to South Africa for that event. I know I know quite sure that it is going to be both physical and virtual. So people that cannot be able to make it down physically to South Africa in December can also participate virtually. And the details, we'll be sharing more details about this event next week. We'll have it all detailed, and we can share the screen and even the contacts on the screen by next week, by our next meeting. But if you have any question for Dr. Meyer, we can ask a question now. I can see Mr. Olani Fakolade. His hand is raised. He has pressed the button. The hand. Do you want to ask a question, sir? Mr. Olani Fakolade.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Please, well, I really enjoy what is going on. I only have a very, 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 very concerned question that is very important to we Africa. And my question goes to Segun Olude from Canada. That's, what is your impact in improving African art education in order to move up with this modern technology? Thank God you are an African in Canada. Because we have been left behind, and with your presentation today, Marvel means a lot. And I'm just looking at the Africa contest. That can we get there in time? So what is your impact? Thank you very much.
Okay. Just give me a second. I'll pull a book from my shelf. Okay, I'm back. You've asked a question that falls in the area of my passion. Fortunately, I've been gone for so long, but I have to make a statement first that Africa has art at the heart of everything that we do. Our motifs, patterns, and our art are actually something that can change the economy of Africa. But we have not paid attention. And being somebody who's looking from outside now, I see more of the opportunities that I never saw before. And I believe that from here on, we ought to be using things that come from Africa as part of our everyday expression. How did I get here? There are places on this planet that you go to. Once you land there, you know you're not in Canada. You know you're somewhere else. There are places you go to that have a distinct characteristics to their environment, their architecture, and their art. So why is it that in Africa we are still pursuing a Western, completely Western in some cases, ideology when it comes to art and design? So it is time for us to go back into our past. As my friend Saki Mafundukwa would say, Africa's future is in the past. Let's break it down. Our future is in our past. That means we're going to go back into what we used to do, re-examine, which is part of what I've mentioned today, that we would unlearn some of what we've learned now. It's good to use technology. It's good to be in the contemporary era where we're doing all these fantastic things, but we have a lot of resources in our art bank that we haven't used. So the book that I completed is based in the Yoruba language because I come from Western Nigeria, looking at the way of life of the people, the way they live, the way they wrote, how they saw life, the kinds of words they used, how they cooked their food, and everything, including how slavery spread the language around the whole world. So I do subscribe to the notion that we need to go back and re-examine what we were doing before Western education, before the digital world collapsed on us, so to speak. Now we're trying to find our way out, and we don't even have all the resources. What did we have? What do we have to offer the world? And I believe we have to go back into those pasts and start looking at our history again. How did we dress? Who are the people in our communities? How did they live? What are the hierarchies in the community? If we do not understand all of those things, then we really have nothing to sell. So our visual language comes from our cultural practices and our traditions. And I believe we have to go back and start from there. I don't know if that is exciting for you, but it excites me every time that we are so rich, visually rich, and we need to tap into that. And I'm really looking forward to that conference because you did mention how do we work in time of COVID and what kinds of things could we do in seclusion. Very exciting topics. So thank you.
Thank you very
I don't know
much.
if
In
I
fact,
answered.
it seems yeah, very well. It seems you are ready for this question before. In fact, it's very lovely. It's very lovely. I love the way you pull the adjective together. In fact, you have a lot of plan for Africa, and I love the way you put it that we Africa have to go back. We just have to go back. We just have to forget about this Western issue or whatever like that. I love it. Kudos to you, please. Thank you very much.
I have to correct a bit, please, that we don't abandon the West. We have to synthesize. We have to synthesize because we're talking now, we're talking through technology. That's embracing Western technology, essentially. But what can we bring? If you saw the background of my desktop, it's an Adire cloth pattern from Nigeria. You know, things that are intentional. So we have to be more intentional about how we put out our output after the unlearning and relearning and blending and synthesizing. As Dr. Samia put in her work, she is basically synthesized processes and come up with this uniqueness. So we have to keep looking at opportunities like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sorry,
Mr.
I so much
Fakolade,
love.
can we take another question? One more question.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Contributions to what has just been said now. Aha. I so
Okay,
much
you
love
can go ahead.
I so much love the way the answer is being packaged, because you know it's like hitting the nail on the head. I think what we in Africa is yet to get out of is this issue of mentality of slavery. Although the rope of slavery has been removed from our neck, but in our mind is still there. So until we liberate our mind, you know, out of that aged slavery mentality, then we might still not move anywhere, because I discovered that what will make us is already with us. The only problem we have is that to accept the reality, we need to reposition our curriculum in a way that it will, you know, make us to give to the world what the world is expecting from us. Until we do that, we will only be looking to the crumbs that will be coming from the table of the Westerners. So I only pray that what we are doing now is part of a rejuvenation of the issue. And I equally believe that if people like Dr. Segun Olude and some other people over there, and we here in Nigeria, if only we can team up together, and those in other African countries, then we will make our voice known and our impression will be seen in the sand of time. Thank you so much.
I think Dr. Meyer is listening right now. I think we can even continue this conversation when we get to South Africa later in the year. So let's just take questions from a different, from some, probably one more question from anybody from the audience, please. Anybody, just one question, then we can just round it up. Is anybody? Mr. Emmanuel Ajiboye, Mr. Eshola. Okay.
I can ask Merna about the conference in South Africa. And I know Christiana Afrikaner is with you in this project, in this conference. But I have a question. Did you send to InSEA to endorse this conference? Because this will help a lot of getting more people into the conference.
Yes, I contacted the president, Glenn, what's his name, Glenn Couts, and he, because we've already got UNESCO endorsement from Pretoria in South Africa, and then Glenn said that he gave me the number of Patsy, the secretary, and I was also planning to get a little bit more feedback from you as well, Samia, seeing as you are the president also of the region. Maybe also with some suggestions. But yeah, we are in the process of trying to get some endorsement from InSEA, and then of course also from the World Alliance for Arts Educators or the other organizations as well. Because we've got at our university, which is in Potchefstroom in the northwest of South Africa, about an hour and a half away from Johannesburg, We've got a strong music department as well. But
That's
anyway, yeah, I am in the process of getting it endorsed, and really we do want to address this issue about finding our assets deep down as far as our indigenous knowledge systems are concerned, from the elderly, from the youth, also to give the youth some sort of impetus and some sort of way forward and so on. So it's people may say in this time of COVID and lockdown that we must look at other things, huger, bigger economic sort of systems. But I think we need to delve deeper and go to our indigenous. Where do we come from, and what do we individually and in our culture can offer to the world outside?
That's right. Everybody has to do his work in a very good way to make the world compete again, and to flower the coming time, because we have been sleeping for 3 months now, and nobody's doing anything. So our part is art education, and this is what we are going to work on. Thank you, Merna.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you so
Samia.
much. Thank you, Samia. Thank you, Dr. Meyer, for that contribution. And we would like to take not just the last word from Mr. Segun Olude, just the last, the parting word for tonight, because we have actually spent so much time tonight, and this is about 30 minutes after 9, and I would like us to close very soon. So, Mr. Segun Olude, we want a departing word from you tonight, and I want to make a request. Probably we still have to have you again next week, sir, if that will be possible. I know you are loaded, and you have a lot of things to even you have a lot of from your wealth of experience, and then you have a lot to impart us with. I enjoyed tonight's presentation, and I will love us to have you one more time, if not more than that, but at least next week for another presentation. I'm just making that request. Then let's take the last word from you tonight, sir.
Thank you for the privilege, the opportunity to be able to speak with everyone tonight. Yeah, it's indeed not taken lightly. I am very thankful for that. I want to say that as artists and educators of artists, we have a huge responsibility. We ourselves, we are storytellers. What stories are we telling? What stories are we encouraging our students to tell? When I talk about storytelling, we are here because of the stories handed down through the generations. Our ancestors were oral storytellers. Many did not have a system of writing. And then we find ourselves in this generation where we can express ourselves not just in writing, but also visually by painting and generating different kinds of art. I believe that that responsibility needs to be exercised without any fear or restraint. And I say that because sometimes we operate under governments that do not really care or don't understand, but it does not stop us from being who we were meant to be, so that we can come up with a new generation of artists and designers who know who they are and are living to express the stories that we were handed. And that is how we ensure immortality. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, sir. And right now, because of our time, I would like to call it a day, and we meet again next week, same time, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, that is GMT +1, that is Nigerian time. I want to actually appreciate our other presenter from Egypt, Dr. Samia for joining us tonight, and also
Thank you,
Dr. Meyer from South Africa for joining us tonight. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Segun Olude from Canada, for also joining us and for the powerful presentation. I just want to say thank you for everyone that has taken out their time to be part of this tonight. Thank you so much. We all are part of this good initiative, Art Educators Hangout. We are converging this way just to inspire one another and also to advance the learning field of art education on the continent of Africa. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's do it again next time, next week,
yes.
same time. I
Thank
love
you,
you all.
Walter.
Bye,
You
everybody.
really did a
Bye.
very good job. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
People. Okay, have a good
Bye-bye.
evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.